All right, guys. Next on the deck, Jill Sims coming off a little bit of a layoff, bringing a beautiful baby boy into the world. Um, Jill talked to me before the session began and said, "Hey, I'm really just focusing on power snatches, power cleans while I regain my core strength." Jill's a smart lifter. She's got a lot of experience under her belt, so I mean, great call. Core strength is a huge part of this, and if it's not there, it's really going to hurt our lifts. So keep it on the power versions for Jill for this first part of the cycle, or heck, even the whole cycle is probably going to be a good call while we regain our core strength. I mean, just working on the technical aspects of the lifts is going to pay huge dividends for us anyway. So, real smart call on Jill's part. And you guys have seen her. She moves really well. She's got a really good handle on these lifts. So just knocking off the rust and regaining the core strength is going to be mission success for us for these next 7-8 weeks. All right, taking it next step down the road. And, this is really kind of a point of personal preference. You'll see different variations, different styles with snatching and cleaning. I'll give you my two thoughts, my 2 cents. I personally like to start with my hips just a little bit loading my quads. Jill, I'm not saying you're starting in a bad position. You're just fine. And really, what you're looking for, guys, and this is kind of a rough view, is starting position for the clean. Shoulders need to be in front of the barbell. So kind of a bad angle, but I would say we're probably meeting that right there. The reality is we're all shaped differently. Some people have long femurs, short tibias, really long arms. I mean, how you look at the barbell is going to be different from person to person, but generally speaking, shoulders in front of the bar is what we're looking for. So just food for thought, Jill. I don't want to mess with your mojo too much. If you like what you're doing, that's good. Things that you'll see next, guys, and this is just a trend for all of us, is our hips will rise slightly quicker than our shoulders. Some of us more than others, and this is just function of quad strength driving the floor away with our feet. We'll work on clean deadlifts, clean pulls, and this is really going to help us develop that technique of keeping our hips from rising too fast. Now, Jill doesn't do too bad of a job on this. It's actually a pretty good first pull. Maybe just a little bit hip rising too fast, but I mean, the whole point of the first pull is to arrive at the power position with arms extended, heels on the ground, ready for that second pull. Now, the next thing that I see from this lift, Jill, and I'm primary offender number one, is a little early arm bend. I know that's something we talked about today, and we talked about that with a lot of us as lifters. It's a hard habit to break. It's just something you're going to have to nail down when we get to the pull versions, kind of slowing things up and really focusing on arriving at that power position with our heels in the ground, arms extended, and ready for that point right before hip extension's completed. So we get there with just a little bit of an arm bend and a little bit early heel rolling up on the toes. Now, the power position for the clean, guys, is going to be different than our snatch. If you imagine Jill's arms are fully extended right now, just imagine her arms are fully extended, heels in the ground. The barbell should be on the meaty portion of our thighs. I mean, basically halfway on that femur. So, whereas your snatch is at your so-called pockets or the hip crease, we're looking for power position right at the thighs. So because we have a little bit of an early arm bend, because we're coming up on the heels, we lose a little bit on the hip extension here. Actually, pretty good hip extension from this point, but we lose a little bit on the force production. That's going to carry over to a little bit slower turnover on our clean, which we see when we catch this a little bit low elbow position. Now, the next thing, Jill, and this is just something that we'll take a look at in your squats, and I think this is just getting kind of back in the fight with these things. I would venture to guess, if we looked at you head on, that your knees are caving in just a little bit. and you can see how far out in front of your toes we're at. You'll see this on your jerk as well. I'm guessing the same thing happens on the jerk when we see the dip. But one thing that Jill really does a nice job on her jerk is she does keep a chest pretty vertical, which I like. Many of us, when we get close to a heavy jerk, we start anticipating that heavy weight and the need to drive through. So we kind of roll up on our our toes a little bit, and roll forward on our dip. Now, stylistically, another discussion point, Jill, but I would say most people who are jerking out there are going to drive their chest forward through the bar. You'll see that you kind of go backwards a little bit, okay? Just backwards. Just look at that front foot. A few inches in the front from the starting position. If we looked at the profile view, I would venture to guess that we'd see you kind of trace back. I would say the disadvantage in this is the whole goal of this jerk is to jump this weight up, essentially, to arrive in that arm extended position in the slot just behind your ears. Right now, we're arriving right probably at ear level. This is going to be a hard jerk to save as the weight gets heavier. So, food for thought, we may want to work on this down the road with the jerks, maybe giving priority to driving our chest forward through the bar and not backwards. But that's something we can chat about and clean up down the road. Overall, Jill, I thought it was a great job, great session overall. It's definitely a pleasure having you in the Barbell Club. You're going to be a huge asset for us. So definitely look forward to working with you. Nice job.